So this week, over the next few days, I'm going to read for 24 hours. This is like a 24-hour readathon, which I've watched so many videos of this and I've always wanted to do it. I've never read this much ever, and I'm not someone that reads for extended periods of time very often. I'm doing the type of readathon where I'm gonna have the phone timer going and I'm gonna time myself every time I'm reading, and then if I stop reading I'm gonna pause it, so it's not gonna be 24 hours straight. So essentially the goal is to read for a cumulative time of 24 hours over the next few days. 2 or 3 days I would think it's going to take me. Even 8 hours of reading in one day is a lot for me. That is not something I usually do, so this should be really difficult but very funny, I would imagine. I have my main books that I'm currently reading, which is Crime and Punishment, and I've been reading this for a very long time, and these 24 hours, the main goal is to finish this book. I'm on page 294, which is quite good. I've been reading a little bit here and there over the last few days, and I'm nearly halfway through, which is really exciting. So this is definitely the main book I'm tackling over these 24 hours, and I also have an audiobook going of the Mythology book that I've been reading over the last few months as well, which is by Edith Hamilton. Yeah, so if I'm ever listening to an audiobook, which I will be because I'm going to go on walks every day, I want to stay active, obviously I just want to sit in my room and read. And I'm thinking whenever I go out, I can listen to an audiobook and I can count as reading as well. So this will be the book that I'm audiobooking. So those are the two main books that I am already reading. And then I also reserved a bunch of books from the library, which are all books on my to be read shelf on my Goodreads, but I don't own them in physical form. And there's no fine print saying I have to read all those books. They're just going to be there as options because they're all books that I definitely would be excited to pick up. So essentially a bit of a tactic to keep me excited to pick up another book after I'm, maybe finishing Crime and Punishment, for instance, and I'm really tired and I'm so sick of reading that I can have an easy manga to pick up. So I'm thinking right now I'm going to go out, I'm going to listen to my audiobook of Mythology to start while I go down to the library and pick up my reservations, and then we'll go through what my reservations are, and then I think we'll start reading. I want to keep it light, I want to keep it fun, and as fun as a 24-hour readathon can be. I think my goal, though, is to read 7 books, is to finish 7 books. I'm just trying to calm myself down at this point, but okay, I'm just going to start. I think I see a jump in head first. Let's go for the walk first. I think starting the readathon with a bit of a walk is, different, it's interesting, and I'll check it back in a minute with the books I got from the library. Bye! So I went for a walk. It was really nice weather, so I ended up sitting in the park after I got my books, and I went to get some food. Ended up being out for an hour and a half, I want to say, but I was sort of sitting in the sun for 20 to 30 minutes of it as well. I did the cleaning that I needed to do today while I was listening to my audiobook. So after all that, I ended up hitting I didn't think I'd get to the 2-hour mark so quickly. And then I treated myself by not doing anything for the last 2 hours. And I just watched some amazing race. Literally just wasted my time essentially for the last 2 hours. So I've had my break. I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to get stuck into it again. I would like to hit around 6 to 8 hours by the end of tonight. That's my goal. It's currently 5 p.m. I was on page 80 something of Mythology, and the whole entire 2 hours I was reading Mythology, and I'm now up to page 182. So I've read about 100 pages of Mythology, which is great. But I just want to quickly talk about the 5 books that I got from the library that are all options for me to read during these 24 hours, and you'll see why, because they're all very short and easy to read. So firstly, I got a middle grade book. It's the first book in the Spiderwick Chronicles series. It's called The Field Guide. I used to love these books when I was literally like 8 to 10 years old probably. And this is just a really easy illustrated middle grade book to read. So I think from memory, I remember like they live in this house and then they meet all these little creatures or something like that. I also got 2 mangas. I got The Complete Cheese Sweet Home Part 1 by Konami Kanata. I also got another graphic novel I got In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wang. And I think I've actually heard good things about this. I've definitely heard more about this one than Cheese Sweet Home. And I've also got 2 other books here. So I've got Living on Stolen Land by Amberlynn Quay Molina, poetry/prose book, and it's written by an Aboriginal author, like an Indigenous author here in Australia, Pokahangatus, and this is by Tayi Tibble, and it is a set of poems as well. So I'm gonna be calling these 5 books like the 1 hour reads of this readathon. So these are like all the really short books that are definitely options for my 24 hours, but what I want to do is I really want to create a nice balance between these 5 books and my longer books. But now you can probably see why I have like the ambitious goal of reading 7 books in 24 hours, because I do have a lot of shorter books here. We'll see how this goes. Wish me luck. I'm 2 hours in and 100 pages down. I'm now starting at 12:56. I had a few other things to do in the morning, unfortunately, but now we're going to get started at 12:56 with my reading for the day. I did end up finishing Cheese Sweet Home Part 1. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Very middle of the road, like a lot of things to love, but also a lot of things to be like meh about, essentially. I think because I compared it to Yotsuba quite a little bit, and I love Yotsuba so much more, this one just sort of fell flat for me, I think. It also was quite long as well. Yotsuba I read with the shorter volumes, which I think makes it fly by a lot, but this is like sort of a bind up of a few shorter volumes into the one. So it felt like a very long road, being 500 pages, even though this cat is so freaking cute. And actually there were some moments towards the end of the book that were quite poignant and sad, and very moving. So at the end of the book, it definitely picked up for me. I think it would have been like a 2 out of 5 if it wasn't for the ending. I'm 2/3 of the way through Crime and Punishment now, so I made a lot of good progress on this book. About page 400, I would say. So I'm hoping to get up to page 480 today. And then I also have been reading quite a bit of the Mythology book. I read 120 pages of it yesterday, so I'm up to page 200 now, and I'm going to take this with me as an audiobook form to the museum today. So this is what I'll be listening to when you see all these shots of beautiful art. And then I think I'll also read one of these other shorter books again today. Also have another short book that's just been put on the reservation shelf at my local library. Let's go get the new book from the reservation shelf and then go down to the museum and go for a walk through all the beautiful art. And then I'll come home and start doing physical reading. Alert, alert, alert. I literally love this album. It's like my probably favorite album in the last 6 months. It's from 1990, so, you know, a bit late to the train. Jumping on the bandwagon. And this, yeah, Kenichiro Isoda album. Oh my gosh. I always just search in the search bar Japanese ambient with wave, and it pops up the top because it's not on Spotify. I'm gonna try and read Crime and Punishment to this album right now. Let's try it out. This amount left of Crime and Punishment, about 120 pages of this guy left, so I'm going to finish him tomorrow. That is the goal. Read 80 pages today. I think I'm gonna put that down for the day. Don't think I want to read anymore. I'm actually really enjoying it though. I'm really excited to finish it and to talk about it a bit more at the end of this video, because Crime and Punishment has really turned around for me actually in the last 2 parts that I've read over the course of this video. It's just been really enjoyable, so it's helped me fly through it quite a bit. I've also read another 100 pages of the Mythology book today. This one's a bit more meh for me, but I reckon I will read more Mythology in the future. But yeah, this is the audiobook, and I think I'm gonna try and read a bit more of this audiobook tonight, and I think I'm actually going to do this Lego like build thingy that my friend got me. I don't know what to call it. It's not Lego, but it's sort of like Lego. So I'm gonna call it Lego. So this bakery Lego that my friend got me for Christmas, which is really cute. So this shouldn't take too long. 6 years and up is the age limit on it. Activities is going to be the audiobook of this and a bit of this. I got another one from the library today. I got My People by Utgeru, another Indigenous Australian author, I believe. A unique place in Australian literature. When her poetry was first published in the 1960s, Kath Walker, as she was known then, provided a brave new voice for marginalised Aboriginal Australians. I also probably will have time tomorrow and the next day to also read a few more of these, seeing as I'm nearly finished with the 2 bigger books. Yeah, I'm currently at 10 hours and 47 minutes, so I'm nearly halfway through and it's nearly the end of day 2. Let it be known I also need to edit a video tonight, so I have a very busy evening. I'm probably going to sleep at like 2 o'clock.
Time to drink and lose the memory of what in former lives they had done and suffered. A magnificent company.
I don't know how it only took 44 minutes to do this. So bad. It's 1:34 a.m. right now. I reckon I'm gonna do a 2:33 a.m. sleep. I usually try to sleep by 2 at the moment. I am a night owl, you know, but I'm gonna push myself past my bedtime. I really want to hit the 13-hour mark. That's the goal, so let's see how we go. I'm gonna listen to my audiobook a little bit more, and I'm also going to I let my housemate decide, and she picked the Spiderwick Chronicles, so we're gonna give this a go. It's starting. I'm starting to go insane. My eyebrows twitching. Time to drink tea
and relax. My camera also is struggling to focus. Me and my camera are both struggling right now. Goodbye. Okay, decided to keep doing this little guy and listen to the audiobook. I don't know, I don't think I'm very good at Lego, it turns out, but he's done. He's done now. And I was essentially just listening to the audiobook the whole time. So I'm gonna call it quits for today. I only have 32 minutes of this audiobook left, which is really exciting. So I'll finish that tomorrow on a walk or on a something. I'm exhausted, I just need to go to sleep. And I'll see you in the morning. But yeah, this guy's done. This guy's nearly done. I'm tired. I just want a nap. My eyes hurt. 14 hours. I got 10 hours left. Oh my gosh. I'm so tired. I want to sleep. Good night.
Kieran, you start rapping more. What made you want to kind of explore that?
I don't know. I think like I just wanted to do something.
I'm at 19 hours and 48 minutes. So I have nearly 4 hours to go. Yesterday, I ended up getting to the point where I finished 6 books. And I hit around the 18-hour mark yesterday. So I read 6 books in 18 hours, which is pretty good. I'm excited to talk about this at the end of the video when I do a wrap-up. But yeah, I finished Crime and Punishment, which is such a weird thing to look at this book and for me to have read it all. Wow, this was a 6-month journey, so I'm really happy that's done. This also is a very long journey, but I finished the Mythology book as well. I already said I read Cheese, but I also read yesterday the Spiderwick Chronicles #1. I read Living on Stolen Land, and I read In Real Life. So these are the 3 smaller books that I read yesterday, which I'll also talk about in the wrap-up, but that's how I got to 6. And then today I picked up a new audiobook. Well, last night I decided what audiobook I was going to read next, because an audiobook always helps me read a lot. So this book was quite perfect because I already had the audiobook downloaded and also had the physical book as well. The Three Musketeers by Dumas, and I'm really excited. I've already read 3 chapters this morning while I was out on a walk for about an hour or so. Page 65 of the Three Musketeers, and I'm actually really liking it so far. I think it's actually quite funny. The narrator's hilarious as well. Unfortunately, the audiobook and the actual book have different translations because originally this was in French. I either have to listen to the audiobook or just read this silently. So I started the Three Musketeers. I'm not going to finish it, but I'll see how much I can get through. And then between the Three Musketeers, I also would like to read the other 2 shorter novels that I got for myself. So I've got Pokahangatus, which is by Tai Tibble. So I've got that. And I've also got My People by Ujeru. So I've got 2 collections of poems to read along with the Dumas today to finish off the next 4 hours. And then we're going to be done. So I'll just try and fit in reading where I can. I'll mostly do it probably in the evening. So yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.
Did it though?
You're in it from there. Oh my god. Oh.
This affair made a great noise. Monsieur de Treville scolded his musketeers in public, and
I ended up reading way more than I thought I would. I'm so proud of myself. This stack that I'm able to lean on are the books that I read during this readathon, and only one of them I didn't finish, which is the one on top here. But the rest of them, I finished all of them. So in total, I read 8 books. And 2 of them I had started before the 24 hours, but they were 2 longer books. And I'd read at least a few hundred pages of those during the 24 hours. So I'm going to take that as reading 8 books. I started off with finishing Cheese Sweet Home, like I said. I've sort of talked about this book already, but this was a 2.5 out of 5 stars. And I would be interested to read volume 2 of these larger editions and see how it goes, but this one didn't wow me. It was just like a meh 2.5 out of 5, which is very middle of the road. I definitely prefer Yotsuba. Like if you want a cute manga, read Yotsuba, I think. But this book was 478 pages. After that, I finished Mythology by Edith Hamilton, which is a book I had already started at the beginning of the readathon. I started on page 82 or so. I can't exactly remember. I would have said in the clip, but I don't remember. But I'm going to guess I started around page 82. And this book is 465 pages total. I think I'm going to try Stephen Fry moving forward because this was a bit too dry for me. Too dry. I'm going to try Stephen Fry. Those are my bars for today, I guess. But overall, I enjoyed the mythology aspect of it, especially the love stories for some reason. They hit me the most. Definitely got to try Stephen Fry, though, to really engage in the rest of what's going on. Then I finished the Spiderwick Chronicles Book 1, which is called The Field Guide. This is a middle grade series that I read as a kid and I loved so much as a kid. This doesn't say exactly how many pages it is. Goodreads says it's 114 pages. And this book was a delight. I love the illustrations. I'll get like a good illustrative shot. Let's go. Where's a good shot of the illustrations for you? Just to give you a little taste of how beautiful these illustrations are. There you go. So nice. It really adds to the charm of the book. When you have beautiful illustrations like this, it just brings the world to life in your head. If it didn't already, enough of the words. And yeah, I just fully enjoyed the book and the world, and I reckon I will read the rest of these guys because I think there's only 5 of them, so why not? It won't take that long, and I just love all little creatures. Then I read Living on Stolen Land by Amberlynn Kwai Molina, and this was a poetry collection, and this book was 64 pages. I really enjoyed this. This is my favorite poetry collection I read during this whole entire video. We're going to get around to a few other poetry collections I read, but this was easily my favorite. This was so good. I feel like I learnt so much. The way that Amberlynn like words everything just is very impactful and straight to the point. And I really enjoy that when it comes to poetry, because I find poetry to be really confusing sometimes, just the way things are worded. It's so flowery and my brain doesn't compute. After that, I read In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wang, and this is a graphic novel. This is like a comic series sorta, and it is 175 pages, and this was pretty good as well. I think I gave this a 3 out of 5, I believe. Yeah, 3 out of 5 for this one. I really enjoyed it, actually. This is sort of like young adulty, so for a young adult, for me to enjoy it, that's got to be worth something, because young adult's not usually my thing. But yeah, I've really wanted to get into gaming. Like, I'm going to buy a PC in January in the new year. I've only had my Mac for the last 8 years or so. It's just been me and my MacBook Pro dying on me every 2 seconds, and I'm finally gonna get a PC and start gaming and also editing my videos and filming my videos on my PC, so hopefully the quality of these videos will improve. But apart from that, I'm also gonna get into gaming next year. I'm really excited about it, and this book definitely got me in the mood. There's a lot of interesting points that this book talks about in regards to the exploitation of workers, like in countries such as China. That's what this book touches upon, for instance, and it was very interesting. I didn't expect that from this book, but it got quite serious and actually really had some good points to say again, I think. I was just like, this isn't just fun and games, this is actually giving me something real here. Gaming actually reflects a lot of like the issues that we face in real life. They're just amplified within the gaming sphere. This book was great. I really enjoyed it. It was very easy to read, like such a fun, quick read. Then I read Crime and Punishment, which I started on. This is by Dostoevsky, Russian writer, along with Tolstoy, I would say. They're the top two, and I started on page 294 with this book at the start of these 24 hours, and this book in total is 604 pages. So I read over 300 pages of it during the readathon, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So this book is split up into 6 sections. And I would say if you equivalate every 100 pages or so to each section, which is around about what happens in the book, sections 2 and 3, so pages 100 to 300 were like my least favorite part of this book. I find there's an amazing lead up in section 1 of this book, pages 1 to 100, and I was really enjoying it, and I felt like the momentum was lost a little bit for sections 2 and 3, and then interestingly enough, for this readathon, I picked this book up at the start of section 4, so at the start of the second half of this book, and I read the sections 4, 5, 6 during this readathon, and thank God I did, because sections 4, 5, 6, I think, are some of my favorite stuff in this book, apart from section 1. It was beautiful. I loved so much the momentum that Dostoevsky was able to build up in nearly every single chapter. Every single chapter was its own feat of tension and build up, and you would start off at in a new place, new conversation, new setting, I don't know, you have them talk about things, talk about the aftermath of the last chapter or whatever, and then slowly a new set of drama is built up by the end of that chapter, and then you're left on another cliffhanger every single chapter. It's so good. I loved Raskolnikov, who's the main character in this book. He very much reminds me of myself, an unhealthy INTJ. If anyone's into Myers-Briggs, personality types, I'm an INTJ, and I'm pretty sure Raskolnikov is also an INTJ. Raskolnikov really struggles to understand himself a lot of the time, which, I related to so much, and the first section of this book, I don't really like him. I don't know if he really likes himself very much, but by the end of the book, he really comes around, and even though he does horrific things during this novel, for some reason, just the way Dostoevsky is able to set up this book and set up Raskolnikov's character development, Raskolnikov becomes this extremely likable and relatable character. I understand him so well because of the amount of depth that is created through the writing style. The level of psyche that happens in this book is insane. Where we start with the main character is completely different to where we end up. I just loved the unraveling of his mind, and he was unraveling, like literally psychologically unraveling as the novel went on, but we were also unraveling like his character as well and getting to know him better, and him getting to know himself better was occurring throughout the whole entire novel. It was just so good, and I just enjoyed nearly every single chapter towards the second half of this book. It was just insane. So gave this a 4 out of 5 just because I really struggled to get into it. It took me 6 months, like I'm not even kidding you, to like get through that first half. But then, like I told you, the second half I flew through in 2 days. I think I'm going to read Notes on the Underground next because that's on my shelf. So I'm probably going to give that a read next year just because I loved this so much. And I reckon I'm going to give this a reread at a later point in my life when I'm getting used to longer classics, because I'm really dipping my toes into longer classics. This is one of the first long classics I've really gotten through. So, you know, it's a slow process for me. But definitely this book showed me the potential, showed me the value of attacking these bigger books because you can get so much out of them. So I'm really excited to give this a reread later in my life, and I reckon I will appreciate it even more then and give it a 5. Like, I feel like I have read one of the best books I'll ever read. Next I read Pokahangatus by Tayi Tibble. And this is the poetry collection from New Zealand. And this book I ended up giving a 2 out of 5, I believe. It was like free form poetry more than just normal poetry. Like there was major blocks of text, which, you know, this isn't poetry really. Lined poetry with verses, and then sometimes it's just big blocks of text. And honestly, like that style of poetry is not hugely my thing. I loved the themes of the book. I feel like I learnt a lot once again about Maori culture. I've hardly read any books ever from New Zealand in general, so of course there's so much to learn here. But yeah, I struggle with the freeform poetry. Also read today, to finish off the readathon, My People by Udgeru poetry collection. I liked Living on Stolen Land better because I was a 4 out of 5, and I think this was a 3 out of 5 I would give it. I liked it in the middle between the other 2 poetry collections I read. I think I would recommend this, and I feel like there's a lot of people out there that would get a lot out of this book. I know Emmy, like another booktuber, who does a thing where she tries to read a book from every country in the world. She read this book for Australia, and that's what put it on my radar. And I could see why she would love it, because I think she much prefers flowery poetry and prose over me. So I struggle with poetry in general, like I said before, because a lot of poetry is flowery, and this definitely is. So, you know, is the reason why I didn't give it as high of a rating as Living on Stolen Land, because Living on Stolen Land was a lot more direct. But I've really enjoyed the themes once again in this book. I would say the themes are actually stronger in this one. The imagery is strong, and there's a lot of storytelling, a lot more so than Living on Stolen Land. Living on Stolen Land is more like bigger concepts, while this is more day-to-day descriptions of what's going on. And then I finished off the readathon also starting the Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. I think I'm pronouncing his name correct. I was pronouncing it Dumas, but then I started reading the audiobook of this book, and then it was like the Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas, and I'm like, Dumas? Not Dumas? Every time. It's a 5-letter word, and I can't pronounce it right. That's insane to me. But yeah, Dumas. French. So yeah, this book is incredible so far. I read up to page 162 of this book during the 24 hours, which is insane. Like, wow, okay, here we go. I'm really getting into the swing of things. This book is another bigger classic that I recently picked up for free downstairs in my apartment building. This is 720 pages and was quite intimidating, but coming off Crime and Punishment, I felt like I could conquer anything. After finishing that book in 2 days, I was like, wait a second, I can read. I'm a reader. So then I was like, let me pick up Three Musketeers because I also have the audiobook for this book. So I started listening to the audiobook, was thoroughly enjoying it. I thought it was funny. I liked the characters, especially the main character. He's hilarious. The Three Musketeers are also funny. Just the way that characters quarrel in this book is so funny. Like, all the bickering is hilarious to me. It's action-packed, a lot's going on. Every chapter there's something like crazy going on. It's really good. So this book is a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be so easy to read because it is a bigger classic, and once again I'm just scared of that. So the fact that I picked this book up and just was thoroughly enjoying it, and I've already sped through 162 pages of it, is great. I told you, in 2023 It's the year of classics. I'm gonna read more classics, and this is me getting to that habit because I will finish this book next year, so already count this towards it. Let's go. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this book so far. I'm feeling like a strong 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 on this book, but you know, it is early days. I've got another like 600 pages of this book. About 1/5 in, so we'll see how we go. This has been a pleasant surprise as well. I was not obviously able to finish it, but I have started it. So I'm now going to count up the amount of pages that I read. 1,873 pages. I think cheese made me feel like I was going to read a lot because it was like easily the most pages I read. I have no idea if that's good or like bad. I don't know what that means really. But I wanted to just, know that in case I ever do a 24-hour readathon ever again, because then I can compare. I've really enjoyed getting through 8.5 books. It's been a really efficient time for me the last few days. It's been really good just because it's really boosted up my numbers for this year. I feel like I'm really going into next year with a cleaner slate, cutting down on my TBR by so many books so quickly. I'm feeling the momentum and I'm ready to attack 2023. So yeah, I'll see you then in the new year. I'll see you soon with more videos in regards to my books and my music. And remember to subscribe if you enjoyed the video and to give it a like. And I will talk to you very soon in another video. Bye-bye.